Oh, we're working. Okay. You drove up to New York? Yeah.
Yeah, that way when you get there, you have your own car. So you're familiar with it. I'm past that rent, and then I get it more because you rent a car and like Sukkot, you rent a car and 5 of the 9 days it sits in a driveway and you're paying.
I know what you mean.
The prices of rental right now.
Unbelievable.
I just rented a car from Metropolis, for 2.5 weeks over here. And the price, I mean, they gave me a nice car, but still the price was ridiculous.
Yeah, but you could have bought 3 for what it.
No, probably not. This is a Jaguar SUV hybrid.
I wouldn't even know that. You have a Jaguar, the E-Pace Jaguar?
Yep, exactly.
Well, they must have tried, they took your apartment in exchange.
I got through Costco
And what did you pay?
for 18 days, $907.
$50 a day for a Jaguar E-Pace? I'll trade you.
Okay, gentlemen, we're gonna get started. Anybody else on there? Zoom? Harvey, Marvin? Okay. Okay, it's gonna start with learning sponsors. Today being the, today's the 25th, right? Okay. The year of learning, Sue and Arnie Gerlich in memory of Malka Perlman and Philip Mann. And Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch and Beryl ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and Yerivka Pro Rosner bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust, Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, shall assure her children and grandchildren a memory of her uncle, founding member of BRS, Dr. Israel Brook, Yisrael ben Harav Akiva, Marcia Federbush and family, in memory of her husband, Dr. Oriel Paul Federbush, Oriel Pinchas ben Harav Shimon, Sharon and Fred Lisker, their family and many friends, in memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman, Edelbas Yaakov, Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell, and Irving and Pearl Kaplan, friends of Avi Gitler, Avram Meir ben Shimon, and Martha Gitler, China Bat Yeshaya, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Sarah Tova Bat Yisrael Dov in her memory, friends of Malka Levy, Malka Bat Yosef, friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef Ben Chaim, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata Bat Asher. Have a month of learning by Marcia Federbush, in memory of her husband, Oriel Pinchas ben Harav Shimon, by Gary and Marcia Schrager, in memory of his father, David ben Yosef, and his mother, Freda Bat Hendel, by Dov Budlander, in memory of his parents, Tzvi ben Yaakov Yitzchak and Bela Drasha Bas Harav Dov Ber, and his in-laws, Yehuda Tzvi ben David Nachum, and Alta Chaya Bat Avram Yosef. Also by Malin Haran Haller, in memory of his father, Avram ben Ze'ev. We have a day of learning today by Ralph and Honey Chaffetz, in memory of his brother, Nassim ben Yehuda. And Shem is having Aliyah, Kranker Rafia Velti Yeshir Hashem Latzliah, and L'chol B'nai Yisrael a good Gaben Shtiyah.
Amen.
Okay. Hello. Okay. Okay, a reminder that what, today is Wednesday, the 25th. And we finish Sukkah a week from today and start Gemara Beitza a week from tomorrow. Okay. Also, Erwin, any news? You get, okay, thank you. Okay, all right, so we're looking into a possibility of what to do for a siyum. Okay. All right, I wanted to start in a moment with actually, if you're using Art Scroll, turn to 49A1. Okay, and you'll see a diagram there of the Mizbeach. Okay. Reason I'm pointing that out is because, to be honest, I was a little disappointed with that diagram, because I would have liked if they were putting a diagram there already to show where the shisim were. Okay?
And with a crack between.
Exactly, and where the crack is between the kevesh and the mizbeach.
You can't have it all.
Okay, well, maybe in the new revised versions of Art Scroll, okay, somebody can share with them that for this
First of all,
sugya.
the shisim there, like whose picture you can draw.
Well, if it's Art Scroll, they'll give everybody sheet. Right, okay. Anyway, the point I'm making is that that's going to be ultimately our topic. But I want to pick up real quick. On the bottom of Memchet Amud Beis, remember we had the story where they got angry at the Sadducean Kohen, okay, who poured the Nisuch HaMayim water on his legs, okay, and they pelted him with esrogim, and when that happened, they broke one of the horns, okay, right, and as a result, they did a temporary fix, what we call the Band-Aid, so to speak, by putting a fistful of salt
Putting salt in
on the wound, yeah, okay, putting it there, okay, and that's what, but the last line of Memchet Amud Beis tells us, Lo mipnei shehuchshar la'avodah, ela mipnei shelo yira'eh mizbeach pagum. Okay, that the altar would not appear damaged, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's appropriate for the
They still can't
avodah.
really use it.
Right. Okay. So having said that, we went then a little bit over yesterday on Mem Tet Amud Aleph, right? Shekol mizbech she'ein lo kevesh, v'lo keren, v'lo yesod, v'lo rivua, pasul la'avodah. Okay, saying that if it lacked the mizbeach, okay, the ramp or a horn, right, the corner, or the yesod, which we're going to call the foundation or the base, below ribua, and if it wasn't squared off, right, it was invalid for worship. Okay, now just to share a little quick item as we're going to continue in a moment. How many? Good question. How many do you think there were?
Well, by its reasonable by saying.
Well, plus the Moshe's was bad, which was different. And then in Shiloh, there was still a fourth, which was more like.
There were out, depending on, okay, first of all, in the bias reshon, you had to have two, right? The big one outside and the little one inside, okay?
They all had, right, Shani have two, and Moshe. had
Right.
two.
Yeah, but when you refer to Mizbeach, you
Right.
mean the
Main
stone,
one.
the big
Okay, anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is that when their reference here to the fact that it had to have the ramp, okay, as well as the corners or the horns and things like that, and the yesod, all of that is describing what I'll call for the moment, the main mizbeach, the outside Mizbeach. The reason
That
I,
was similar in 1 and 2.
okay, now, you should know, however, as we said real quick, yes, there were others. I had the opportunity once to visit a colleague and friend who was living in Beersheba, okay, many, many years ago, who said to me, we're going to go on a Shabbos walk, and I'm going to take you by the
Model
it wasn't the model, okay? Take you near, he lives near Beersheba, the university there in Beersheba, to where we keep, he was on the Bible faculty there, where we keep artifacts outside. And as we walk by on Shabbos, what does he point out to me? He actually points out to me a stone mizbeach that was about as tall as one of these tables, and it had horns on it.
So it was a model.
Well, I don't know if it was a model, okay?
It wasn't a bomber.
Okay, in any case, it could have been a model, but what it showed was that that it could have been something, okay? Because they did date it back to early times.
But there are 0 artifacts from Bias Rishon.
Right,
So it must have been,
something from somewhere during time of Bayis Sheni, right? But they do have, that they had a clear example of it. Okay, so
One time there was only one.
There was always one and then it was.
one at Moshe, then you had one in the Mishkan, right? Things like that. All right, so let's go on now. Okay, so Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Omer Af HaSoved, that it also needed to have the Soved, what I'll call the walk around, okay, ledge that was there for the Kohan. Okay, Amar Rabba Bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, so now we get to our topic in our new material today. Shisin, right? Misheshit Yemei Bereshit Nivro. That these pipes, or we want to call them another name, tubes or things like that, were created as part of the creation. They were there from the time of creation, as it says in a pasuk here, Chamuke Yerechayich Kimo Chalaim Maaseh Yedei Amad. Okay, your flanks are concealed like jewels, the handiwork of a master craftsman. Okay.
Where is that in the picture?
Where is that found, that pasuk?
Another picture.
It's not in the picture. That was my point. That's why I said if they gave the picture, it would have been nice if they had shot. Okay, the pasuk's in Shir Shirim, but there is nothing in the picture per se.
So
To
what
show.
I said was created, what was?
The shisim, these
Oh,
the holes
poles,
were there?
the crevices,
No,
the
no,
pipes.
No, in the
Ground
ground.
level.
Right, in other
In the
words,
ground.
according to
had-
this sheet,
Okay,
from
what you-
ground level to the
Okay,
core of the earth.
Okay.
Okay,
There was
let's-
these
I was gonna
tubes
say, you
exist.
have, well, I was gonna explain it a little differently, but it's the same and understand. They built the Mizbeach. The Mizbeach was situated in
Exactly
such a
correct.
way so that
They could
they
extend the
could
sheath.
pour things on the top of the Mizbeach. It would go through poles or cracks or whatever, okay, there. And then when it enters the ground, okay, there were these crevices, I'm going to use that word for the moment, crevices that were created there from Maaseh Bereshit for this liquid.
So that had to be the starting place of the building of the Beis Hamikdash.
Correct.
That
Right,
dictated the way everything
where,
else
right,
was.
Correct.
okay, exactly, okay? So that's the point
That's
we
only
wanted,
one sheet, and the other
Right.
sheet is there were no tubes.
right, okay, so what happens? So that was the pasuk. Okay, Chamuki, all right, Maaseh Yedei, amen, right? Chamuki krechayich, what do we mean by these flanks that are concealed? Elu hashisim, these are the crevices, the poles, right? Kimo chalaim, they are like jewels is one translation. Shemechulalim, that they are hollow, v'yordin ad hatahom, and they go all the way down through the earth into the depth of the planet. Maaseh yedei aman, okay, that they are the handiwork of a craftsman. Zo maaseh yedei omanuto shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, okay, implying that Hashem was the one who fashioned them. Okay? Tanad Debei Rabbi Yishmael, they taught in the academy of Rabbi Yishmael as follows. Right? Breshit, where it uses the first word in the first parsha, right, of the Torah. Al tikre bereshit, don't call it Breshit, ela bara shis, right, the shisim, that he created these this item. Right?
Do we know now approximately where this thing was?
What it was or where?
That there is a
There's a-
Muslim structure there.
It's all in rock.
We have a sense of where it was, yes. Okay,
We don't know the yuk, but it's
Okay.
under where that,
Dome of the Rock.
that big
Right.
thing in the middle
Okay.
of Jerusalem. Yeah,
we're an archaeologist.
the
We're
rock.
able to find it, that would be a major discovery. Tanya, but we learn in another Braita as follows. Rabbi Yossi Omer Shisin, Mechulalin, V'yordin ad tahom. Says Rabbi Yossi, that these Shisin, these poles or crevices, were hollow, and they went all the way down, right, to the center of the planet. Shneamar, what are we saying here? Another pasuk, right? Ashira na lididi shirat dodi lekarmo. I will sing now on behalf of my beloved, the song of my beloved concerning his vineyard. Okay, what does that have to do? By the way, also from Shir Hashirim, right? Okay, Kerem hayali yedidi. Okay, my beloved had this vineyard, this fertile area, but Keren ben Shemen. Okay, it was
Fatty.
okay, it could be
Very well.
okay. That could be one explanation, right? All right. Art School wanted us to say in a fertile corner. I'm not sure I like that one.
Yeah,
It
then he
was-
footnotes it because it was fat.
Right. All right. So they did eat Keren Shimon via Azkehu, via Salkehu, right? He cleared it, encircled it with a fence. Via Shorek. Now, this is an explanation, a drush. Yateu Shorek, Vayiven Migdal B'tocho. Planted it with choice plants, built a tower there. Vagam Yekev Chatzav Bo, and a wine vat within the tower. Okay. Now, Viateu Sorek, what does it mean? He planted it with choice plants, right? Beit Hamik, is that Beit Hamikdash? That's the Beit Hamikdash. Vayiven Migdal B'tocho, okay, that he built this tower, Zem Mizbeach, okay, V'gam Yekev Chatzav Bo, and that he made a vat therein. Elu Hashisim, these are the Shisim, the poles. Tanya, and another Braita, Amar Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok. He says as follows: Lul katan haya bein kevesh lemizbeach. There was a, let's call it a gap or a space. Okay,
They sold jeans.
okay. But ma'aravo shel kevesh. According to this text, it says it was on the ma'arav side, the western side of the ramp. Right? Ve'echat l'shiv'im shana, and once in 70 years, pirchei kahuna yordim l'sham, the young, vibrant, active, strong, young kohanim, okay? That's thing, and what they do, they would be lowered into that area.
It's probably not wide enough. They probably stuck their hands in with scoops. Because it was only this wide at most.
So they found skinny kohanim. Okay,
You must have been emaciated.
all right, who knows? It says Yordim. L'sham u'melaktin misham yayin, that they would gather up, they would clean up the area, right? The yayin karush, the yayin, that the wine that had been congealed, shedomeh le'igulei dvela, which was similar to pressed fig cakes. Okay?
With a little
Ubaim.
liquid evaporate.
Just
Right.
before it said the cabbage went down all the way to the center of the earth.
No, no, no.
No, the
this version-
shisin went down,
This
this was a
version, there
gap,
were
was a little
marble,
different.
I want to hear what
tiles.
Rabbi Green said.
right? Okay, so that the shisin went down, okay, but this other, this gap that was between the ramp
Oh.
and the Mizbeach, maybe it was, I'm going to expand it a little bit. If it was as wide as a table like this, which it wasn't, okay? Were it to be that wide, we could understand that maybe somebody could get down, but it was smaller than that.
But according to this price, there were this opening in the ramp and then widening beneath the ramp for the shisin. According to this price, there
It's
were
different,
no godly tubes.
right, okay?
That's what too.
No, there was a,
This price is different.
right, this is, so you have two explanations. Where did the water or the wine go? Right, according to one, brighter, you could say that you poured it and it went down through the Mizbeach into these tubes all the way down. According to another brisa, no, there was this gap and it was poured there. And then it would go down and then it would be, as we're going to see in a moment, discussed as to where it went from there.
Going to the field.
The farmers, it wasn't.
It was a solid, according to this price, there was a solid marble floor and the Mizbeach was placed on it. And there was this gap between the keves and the Mizbeach, which widened and it accumulated wine.
Underneath, and
And
therefore
the
that had
wine
to
would
be clean.
evaporate, the liquid, until there was like goo. And then once it was too full of this goo,
They had to send them
they
down to
would
clean
clean
it
it out
out. Okay,
every 60 or 70
Sorry.
years. What?
well, that's the
No,
other.
that was the,
Don't be,
That was
I
the
won't be
blood.
home, I'll be in school.
not the
So I'll be
wine.
home about 9:30.
That's the other.
See you later.
Okay, so we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, for the Nusach HaMayim.
Right.
Hayayit.
All right, so we see two different views,
No, two rices.
two different views from two different brises,
Either went all the way down to the.
Or it didn't.
or it didn't. Okay, so let's see what happens now in the Gemara. So they would send them down, they would clean it out. Umelaktin misham yayin karush, shedamela igulei devela. We stop there. Okay, so what happens? So what did they do then with that leftover goo, that leftover thick
Wine.
wine, chef? Ubain v'sorfino to b'kedusha. That would have to be burnt as some sort of sacred item.
Somewhere in the
Right.
Azara.
Why? Shneimar b'kodesh hasech nesech shechar l'Hashem. Right? Because we have that statement. All right? That therefore says, all right, clearly that the pasuk and the Tamid's libation is a quarter hin for one lamb. Okay, and therefore it had a sense of holiness and therefore had to be burnt.
So if somebody used it, it would be Mila.
Yeah.
Right.
No, taka, once it's poured, it's not.
Right. All right, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that topic shortly. Right? Okay, we're on Memtet Amud Beis, right? Okay. Kashem shenisucho b'kedusha, kach sreifato b'kedusha. The same way the wine pouring was a sacred act, so therefore the burning had to be a sacred act. My mashma, what's the indication? What does this tell us? Amar Ravina, Ache Kodesh Kodesh. Okay, he's driving it from a Gzereshava of the word Kodesh. Ktiv Hacha. In one place it's written, but Kodesh Hasech Nesech, right? Right, therefore it's holy, all right? Uktiv Hatam, and it's written there, V'sarafta et hanotar ba'esh lo yechel ki kodesh hu. Okay, and that's the other pasuk. You burn the leftover because it may not be eaten because it is holy. Keman azla had, right? Huh? According to which do we say? The Tanya? In other words, according to which Braita would we generally understand? Nisachim, it says plural. Betchila, okay, originally, mo'alin bahem. Okay, it's possible that one could be considered guilty of the act of me'ilah.
It's before the wine is
Okay,
poured.
in other words, initially, right, before you even start, if you use that wine before it is involved in the nisuch hayayin, the wine libation, okay, you're due the shitin, okay, once, according to the one Braita that accepted the idea of the shitin, once it was poured and it went down through these crevices, these poles, ein mo'alin bahem, then one would not be susceptible to me'ilah, right? Lema Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadoki. Shall we therefore say, okay, that has to be the view of Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok? The Rabbanan, because if we're saying it's the view of the rabbis, ha nachtu laho l'tahon. There, we already said that their view was it went all the way down to the center of the planet. Okay? Afilu tema Rabbanan. Hold on, says the Gemara. We might even say that it could be the Braita's view by the rabbis. Why? B'ta iklit. Why? Because we could say that it was, one translation is collected there, okay, and it got all plugged up and things like
Someone
that.
wanted to do me'ilah, or he could interpose a keli, and stick something into the tube, clog the tube, and then catch the wine.
Okay, that's an interesting thought.
That's the concept. If you say it's tubes that go down to the earth,
Yeah,
the
That's
only
what Rashi
way
used to
a
say, you're
human
putting something
being
there.
could obtain it is by interposing
Sticking something
in
there.
the tube and
Okay.
catching the.
all right, that's why Art Scroll, yeah, blocking the
Correct. I
two.
mean, we
That's
know-
why Art Scroll wants to translate it as intercepted. Okay? Koren doesn't accept that explanation. It gives a different explanation.
Oh, this is Rashi.
Yeah, I understand that. But in other words, they prefer to translate it rather than intercepted, collected. Okay?
It's the same
And
thing.
I understand that, but I'm just saying the language is a little different. Collected in a manner, okay, that would then result in a plugging up of the, okay? But I'm just saying just the difference, a little different language. Concept is the same. Ve'ikada amre, and there are those who explain it this way. Lema Rabbanan will say that it's the rabbis. Velo Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Tzadok, and not him. The Rabbi Elazar, because if it was the view of Rabbi Elazar, akati b'kedushatai hu kaime. Okay, that congealed item would still have sanctity.
Therefore,
Could be subject to me'ilah. Exactly.
I thought it's a Saman. What is this man to avoid the problem with most? Please explain that to me. Once it went into the sheet and it went down
No,
there,
sir, would only, it seems to me,
then
it applies only to the animal offerings, not
No,
to
no, well,
the,
the pasuk that we just cited was a no-ser.
Right,
That's
right.
what's
there's a
confusing.
Saman of how long it went into the sheet. We're saying that.
no, it does, no.
No, at the instant it enters the sheet and
Excuse me.
then it's finished.
Okay, I'm the Kohen, you're the Kohen. You get up
No
there,
also by wine, you want to say.
Right.
you're the Kohen, you get up there, you pour it.
I just, that's where my mistake is. If you're telling me that there's no also by wine, I'll shut up.
Okay, you're the Kohen. If that wine that you're going to use is used before you pour it, then it's subject to me'ilah.
I didn't say that.
I understand that. Once you as a Kohen pour that wine,
Either it goes down the tubes or it doesn't, but that's. the
if
end
it
of
goes
that.
down the tubes, no time on no side.
That's,
Those are
that's
the hand
what my
cart
mistake
first.
was comparing wine to the.
No, because it's never consumed, so there's no
Right.
noser. Noser is only a time limit on those korbanos you eat.
Eat, right. Okay, all right, so let's go on. So if he Gemara picks up, Elazar Kati B'Kedusha Tar Karmi. Afilu Tema Rabbi Elazar, you could even say that. Ein lecha davar shene'asa mitzvato u'mo'olin bo. That could be his answer. Since you're doing a mitzvah, okay? Now that's not me. Now Amar Reish Lakish, Bizman sheminaschin yayin al gabe mizbeach. Okay, at the time that you do it, right? Pokakin et hashitin lekayem ma shene'amar b'kodesh hasech nesech shechar l'Hashem. Okay, what is he saying there? That at that time, when it's pouring, right? He argues. I'm just trying to. Okay, that.
He puts a plug in.
Right,
so that
okay,
the
that's,
wine would pool. And then when you remove the plug, it ran down, so it would be a metaphor for a human being
Yeah.
drinking. So God could quote.
well,
drink it.
okay, I'm not sure you're right in terms of the language, that you plug up the shisin in order to fulfill, okay, what was said, B'kodesh hasech nesech shechar l'Hashem, that it fulfills then that requirement of drinking for the sake of Hashem. Okay, my mashma, Amar Rav Papa. So what then are we saying? It says Rav Papa, okay, Shechar Lashon Shtiyah. Okay, that use of that pasuk tells us that it implies drinking. Lashon Sviyah, also it implies that one is satisfied. Lashon Shikrut also could tell us that there's a chance of being inebriated. Okay. Amar Rav Papa. Shma mina, what do we learn from this? Ki sava inish chamra. Okay? Migronia sava. That when a person is satisfied with wine, it's his throat that becomes satisfied. That's where okay? So then now we get a little story. Amar Rabba, says Rabba, Surba mirabanan delona fi shalei chamra. If you have a rabbinic student that doesn't usually drink a lot of wine, he doesn't get the opportunity to drink much wine, what happens? Ligma gemuye. He sort of gulps it down, okay? And it's there, bloop, 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 kind of real quick drinking. Rava, akasa de birchata agma gemuye. And Rava, when he would drink the cup of wine for Kiddush or other things, he would gulp it down. So again, the stories try to emphasize that it satisfies through the throat, kind of thing. Darash Rabba. And so now we get a real drasha. Mai dichtiv. What is it written when it says Ma yafu pa'amayich b'na'alim bat nadiv? Okay, so we have a pasuk there, right? That tells us how lovely are your steps and your sandals, O daughter of the noble. Okay, what does that refer to? All right, Ma yafu pa'amotaihen shall Yisrael. How beautiful are the steps of the Jewish people of Israel? B'sha'a sha'olim l'regel, because they travel, they walk, okay, to go 3 times a year to the Beis Hamikdash. Bat Nadiv, the daughter, we said, of the nobleman. Who is it? Bito shel Avraham Avinu, the daughter of Avraham Avinu. Shenikra Nadiv. She is considered noble.
Abraham is
Okay, he's the noble person, but she has some sense of nobility as well, being the daughter. Shneamar Nedivei amim ne'asafu im Elogei Avraham. Okay, that the pasuk there, okay, telling us that the nobles of the nations gathered the nation of the God of Abraham. What is it telling us? Okay, Avraham, lo Elokei Yitzchak v'Yaakov, the God of Abraham and not the God of right, Isaac or Jacob. Ela Elohei Avraham shahayat chila legerim. Okay, that he was the first because he was the, you want to say the first of the converts, okay? Or the first person to bring others into conversion to God. So there are a couple of different explanations that could be for satisfy the pshat of that phrase. Okay, Tana debe Rav Anan, Mai dichtiv, Chamuke Yerachayach. We're back to those concealed flanks. Lama nimshalu divrei Torah l'kiriach. Why is words of Torah compared to flanks? Lomar lach, to tell you, Ma yerach b'seiter, af divrei Torah b'seiter. Okay, so the same way the flanks are, so to speak, thighs, flanks. All right, hidden. Okay, so likewise, there are aspects of flank is what Art Scroll
I know,
translated.
but it's allowed.
Okay, yeah. All right,
Davidson translation is thighs.
yeah.
That's
thighs?
what the word
Okay.
yerech means.
Okay, so af divrei Torah b'seiter. So words of Torah can be seen. V'hainu de'amar Rabbi Elazar, and this is what Rabbi Elazar says. My dichtiv hagid lach adam ma tov v'ma Hashem doresh mimcha ke'im asot mishpat v'ahavat chesed v'atznei lechet im Elokecha. I like this drasha here personally. Asot mishpat, when it says to do justice, zehadin, that is the fulfillment of justice. V'ahavat chesed, zo gemilut chasadim, that's acts of kindness. V'atznei lechet im Elokecha, okay. Zo hotzaat hamet v'hachnasat kala lekupa. Okay.
Marriage and death.
Okay, so those are dealing with mitzvahs that are directed towards an actual person, either in their passing or in celebration of the
You
Simcha.
notice it puts that first,
Okay.
because getting married is the end.
Okay. We'll tell Miriam that you said that.
No, I wouldn't.
V'halot varim kal v'chomer. And can't we say that there's a kal v'chomer here? Namely as follows. Right, how are we doing? Okay, time-wise? Good. Umad varim shedarkan la'asotan b'farhesia. Amrat Torah hatznei lechet. And whereas there are, I'm going to say items, aspects of the proper life, Jewish behavior, okay, that we are, that with, which could be done in public, but the Torah refers to them as hatznei lechet, to do it in modesty. Dvarim shedarkan la'asotan b'tzin'ah, those aspects of a Torah life where one actually performs them in a modest, private manner, al echad kama v'chama. How much more so? Now,
Giving stuff.
that's exactly where I was headed. Okay, that's right. That exactly that. What are they hinting at? The example of giving tzedakah. Okay, exactly. Amar Rabbi Elazar. This is Rabbi Elazar. Gadol ha'oset tzedakah yoter mikol hakorbanot. Greater is the one who performs an act of charity than the offerings. Why? Shene'amar aset tzedakah u'mishpat nivchar l'Hashem mizbeach. Okay, citing another pasuk there that seemed to imply, all right, that that's the case. All right, what happens? Va'amar Rabbi Elazar, gedola gmilut chasadim yoter min tzedakah. And acts of kindness, charity, goodness are even greater than tzedakah. Shene'amar, again, pasuk, zar'o lachem l'tzedakah v'kitzru lefi chesed. All right, here again, Sow for yourselves charity and reap according to kindness. Now, what's the drasha here? Imadam zorea, sofek ochel, sofek ino ochel. If a person sows seeds, it's questionable whether he's going to ultimately eat or he's not going to eat, whether the produce that the seeds he sowed is going to grow. Adam kotzer vadai ochel. A person who harvests certainly is going to have something to eat. Va'amar Rabbi Elazar says further, Ein tzedakah mishtalemet ela lefi chesed shabbat, that one's act of charity is rewarded. I'm going to use that translation, okay, based on the kind of chesed, the kind of kindness that's associated with it. Shnei Amar, as again the pasuk, Zaru lachem l'tzedakah, v'kitzru lefi chesed. New piece.
The concept there is you have to be mamish joyous when people, oh no, Schnorrer is at the door, and then they give him a buck.
Okay, we'll
You
see.
have to give it with a
Simcha.
smile.
I'll see. Tanu Rabbanan. Okay, says a new bright. Okay, the following. B'shlosha dvarim gedola gmilut chasadim yoter min hatzdaka. There are three aspects of kindness which are greater than really giving charity. One, tzedakah b'mamono gmilut chasadim bein begufo bein b'mamono. Charity is given by means of money, but acts of kindness can be given through one's person or through money. Second, tzedakah la'aniyim. Charity goes to the poor. Gemilut chasadim, bein la'aniyim, bein la'ashirim. Acts of kindness can be given either to the poor or also to the rich. Third, tzedakah lechayim, gemilut chasadim, bein lechayim, bein lametim. Charity is given only to the living. Acts of kindness can be done both for the living and for the deceased. Now, Va'amar Rabbi Elazar, he says as follows: Kol ha'oset tzedakah u'mishpat, whoever does both charity and acts of justice, right? What's that, right? Ki'ilu milei kol ha'olam kulo chesed. Right? It's as if he has, I want to say, filled the entire world almost with kindness, with well-being. Shnei Amar, Ohev tzedakah u'mishpat, chesed Hashem al. Shema Tomar, perhaps you might say, Kol habalik fots kofetz, right? That there we might say maybe, and this phrase, I want to translating it loosely. You might say whoever jumps ahead. Okay, so what happens? Talmud Lomar. How do we understand that kind of a phrase? Ma yakar chastecha Elohim, chesed Hashem le'ah ha'aretz. Again, acts of kindness. Okay, it reminds me, just as a quick aside, that the pasuk, of course, is in Tehillim, and in Jerusalem there's a shul called Yakar. Okay, Yakar is the name of the shul based on this pasuk. Okay, so what happens? Etc. Yechol af yirei shamayim king. We might say those who have a fear of heaven. Likewise, Talmud Lomar, b'chesed Hashem me'olam b'yad olam al yirei av. Okay, again, connecting the idea of chesed once more with those who have a fear of Hashem. Amar Rabbi Chama bar Papa, Kol Adam sheyesh alav chen. Any person who has a certain amount of chen, of kindness or grace, biyadua shahu yirei shamayim. it's known that he is fear of heaven. Shneimar, Chesed Hashem me'olam bi'ad olam al yirei av. Again, citing the pasuk. Va'amar Rabbi Elazar, my dichtiv. What about another pasuk that is with it? Kiha patcha v'chachma, the Torah Chesed al lishona. Okay, reciting again another pasuk. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the Torah of kindness is on her tongue. V'chiyesh Torah shel Chesed, v'yesh Torah she'ina shel Chesed. Can you say that there is Torah that's for kindness and one that's not for kindness? Ela Torah lishma, zohi Torah shel Chesed. But rather, we could say that that kind of Torah that's done, I'm going to say, without any ulterior motive, all right? Translating it that way, is that's the Torah of Chesed, shelo lishma, zohi Torah she'ina shel Chesed. And if it's done
Doing the dots.
right for that purpose, all right, that it's not a question of the purpose. That is not a Torah. Ikeda Amre, and there are others who say Torah lelamda, zohi Torah shel Chesed. Torah for the purpose of teaching it to others. That is the Torah of kindness. Shelo la'amda, Torah that's not done for further instruction. Zohi Torah she'ina shel Chesed. All right, now I just want to pick up just a tiny bit. All right, and then we'll finish. Kema'asehu bechol. It said it was done on the weekday like it was done on Shabbos. All right, like va'amai. How is that possible? Naite b'mikudeshet. Okay, why don't they? It said they used a barrel that wasn't sanctified. Okay, so why don't they use a barrel of water that's sanctified? Asks Amar Zeiri, says Zeiri, Kasava, because it's possible we might think of as follows: Ein shiur lamayim. Okay, that we might think there's no maximum amount prescribed for the water libation, right? Ukli sharet mikadshin shalom midat ve'imait b'mikudeshet ifsulu laho balina. Okay, that if it was brought, okay, and it was done Erev Shabbos, and it was brought, it was already mikudeshet, it may be subject to lina by remaining over, okay, overnight till Shabbos
That
morning.
would ruin it.
That would ruin it. We'll stop right there. We'll pick up tomorrow. Okay. All right, Erwin, you'll give us a message tomorrow. We'll see what we can do if we need to, right? And okay, welcome back again to Zev. All right, good seeing you in person. Okay, all right, everybody, stay well.
Go ahead.
All right. Hey, how are you? How are you doing? Welcome. Nice, nice.